Cool, so I'm back. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties. It appears my sound was on, but I guess the signal wasn't coming through. In any event, hey, welcome. It's Friday night, and I'm Joshua Betancourt. And for those of you who have been here before, welcome back. For those of you who are new, yeah, I'm Joshua Betancourt. I'm an NLP practitioner. I'm a student of the esoteric. I'm just really committed to the idea of expansion and growth and evolution and change and quality and living, the best possible life that you can. So this channel is dedicated to the idea of those principles, and we talk a little bit about topics related to neurolinguistic programming, systems theory, conscientiousness, evolution, metamorphosis, all of those cool things. So I've got a really cool talk tonight about foundational work. So yeah, welcome to the channel. I'm glad that you're here, and this is Paradigm Shifting. Cool, so I'm glad that you guys are here with me tonight. I've got a really interesting topic, or what I think is an interesting topic, and I hope that it sheds light on perhaps some challenges that we face as we kind of embark on this journey of growth, right? And the different, modalities and the different systems that we use related to growth. So, yeah, I just had this thought that came to me about, the foundational work of what it means to grow and to change and to be a catalyst of change for your internal awareness and kind of the internal definition of who you are, as well as the external expression of who you are. And this analogy hit me, so I'm going to tell you guys a little story, all right? So for a moment, imagine that from the very first moment that you realized that you were capable of doing whatever it is that you wanted to do, to have a choice, to be whatever it is that you wanted to be, you decided that you wanted to be a race car driver. They're just saying, right? And so, you kind of drew pictures of cars and racetracks as a child and kind of begged for a go-kart and rode your go-kart and saved up your money and worked, and you bought a car when you were 16, right? And you were proud of yourself. You did a really good job. You had kind of developed all of these skills necessary to embark on this path of your dream, whatever, being a race car driver. And you were like, yep, this is the car. This is the one. This is the one that I'm going to race with. So, obviously those things don't manifest instantly, right? There's a lot of work that goes into becoming a race car driver, but you're on your path and you're heading in that direction. And your car is great, you've got a great car. But since there's a little bit of a delay as you're, working and developing yourself and educating yourself and all of these things, you're driving this car back and forth to work and all around. And things happen, right? You need to have oil changes, and you need to have, new tires every so often, and occasionally there is this malfunction, or there's kind of maintenance that needs to be done on the engine and on the car in general. So over time you notice that the AC probably doesn't work, and or as well as it once did, and you're okay with it. It's cold enough, but it's not exactly 100%. And you notice that over time that perhaps your steering column is a little loose, right? So, you're driving and there's a little play in your steering column. So it doesn't turn as, as quickly as it once did, right? It isn't as responsive as it once was. And you notice that, I don't know, maybe a piston's firing a little late. It's a delayed piston or what have you. And it isn't really making that much of an impact, but you can tell that the engine isn't firing appropriately. And all of these things are just small nuances. Well, the piston might not be, but the majority of them are small nuances, and you can live with them, right? They're not that big of a deal. You can drive back and forth to work, right? You can use the car for the purpose that it was intended to be used. But yeah, and you just go about doing it that way. And then over time, something happens, right? The stars align, and you get an opportunity to race, right? But you got to have your own car, and you've got to be kind of prepared. You've got to bring kind of all the equipment, everything that you need, gas, and be able to comply with the regulations of this particular race that you've been invited to participate in. So what are you going to do? Like, what happens at that point, right? You've got your car, and you've got an opportunity, and you don't want to waste the opportunity. So, one would expect normally that you'd say, okay, I need to put a number, right? I probably have to tape up my headlights. I probably, if I'm gonna really have a chance at winning this thing, I probably need to enhance my engine, right? I might need, like a supercharger or turbo. I don't know. I might need to think about putting on a racing clutch, or who knows, a full, exhaust system. I don't know. But that your car, even though it's a great car, right, and it's served you well, there are some things that need to be done in order to get it to its peak performance state. And this is the dilemma, right? So this is the traditional route that most people take, right? Is that, they're working to develop themselves, but they miss the foundational work, right? So that's one path that you can take, right? You can add all of that stuff and you can go out to the race, right? But what you're not thinking about is those issues that were there before you upgraded your vehicle, right? That drive shaft is still loose, and it's loose for a reason, right? The air conditioning unit doesn't work, and it doesn't work for a reason. There's kind of issues that were there related to the car and that were limiting its performance in advance of you adding, right, the supercharger, the exhaust system, right, maybe upgrading the wheels, whatever it is. If you're adding those things without really addressing some of the core issues like that piston misfiring, right, then you're really not creating a car that's actually capable of taking you to, the winner's circle, because there are these underlying issues related to how that car was performing prior to you adding all of this extra content, all of this extra, these resources, all of this extra horsepower, all of this extra performance gear, right, that you're hoping will lead you to this circle of victory. And I think that story and the analogy of that story is relative to how people go about growing and potentially missing out on the opportunity of resolving subconscious or deep-seated issues or deep-seated beliefs that have been an impact or have had an impact on who it is that they are, right? And potentially those subconscious beliefs correlate to things relative to how they perform and how they perceive the world. And as I look at, these many programs, right, many kind of coaches and programs, while they have great intention and they are applicable, and I'm not shooting anyone down, right? Anything that you do in order to grow is a positive thing. I think that many of them miss the boat in the sense that it's really important to take a look at where you've come from, right? What is already there, and what is beneficial and what is detrimental that's already there, and then addressing that in advance of adding on all of the extra performance stuff, right? So the idea of foundational work is that it's really taking a long look at what brought you to this point. How did you get here, right? What were the experiences that you had? Where does the pain lie? What hurts, right? Have you been able to resolve that? Have you been able to heal from that effectively? Have you learned from it effectively? And then clearing the slate, like becoming whole in the sense of everything that got you to the point of now. And once you've kind of resolved and identified what those either beliefs or, you know, um, obstructions or, obstacles or, whatever those counterproductive expressions may be, once you resolve those, then you're in a much better position to start to build on, hey, how do I achieve excellence? How do I become a model of success? How do I, really kind of capitalize on understanding what I'm capable of as far as my behavior is concerned, as far as my, you know, my goals are concerned, and then apply methodologies and techniques to enhance that aspect of yourself. But if you do that without really addressing what it is that got you to the point that you're at, what happens is that you may taint some of those um, some of those some of that work, right? You may taint some of that work with the same beliefs that may have been limiting to you before you did that work. So, yeah, that was the story. It was about, really taking the idea of foundational work to heart, right? And taking a look at kind of the introspective aspects of everything that it is that you are, right? Everything that you are, and then kind of coming to terms with that, right? And I think in doing so, what we do is we have a tendency to create a higher quality experience. We become more forgiving and more compassionate and more patient within ourselves, right? Because 9 times out of 10, we're usually our own worst critics. And so allowing the opportunity to kind of accept your humanness, right? Your this state of life and the state of being that you are, and being okay with that, and then finding ways to release things that hurt, right? To release these ideas and perspectives that may be obstacle and obstruction, right? That may be kind of an energy drain, or that may be, a kind of repetitive pattern that you've seen play out in your life over and over and over again. And it's as simple, and I say it's as simple, but it's as honest and as simple as really having a real dialogue with yourself, and understanding and coming to terms with kind of the experiences that you've had that led you to be that expression of a person. And that foundational work is just so invaluable in that way, right? It's so incredibly powerful in that way. Um, I hope that this is a kind of a positive message for people, right? And I hope it opens some kind of doors, or sheds some light on maybe challenges, in the sense that that you want to grow, that you want to be a certain type of expression in the world, but there's been obstacles that have held you back from doing so. And whether that's self-created mentally, or something that's happening subconsciously that you might not be aware of, it's important to stop for a moment and breathe and take a look at that stuff, and then do whatever type of work it is that you want. And any work is good work, right? Like any personal development, spiritual development work it's all beneficial. But having a plan and strategy around how to attack that, and to really be cognizant and conscientious of that, makes all of the difference in the world. It's amazing. I've seen it in the sense that address issues that from a very, like, beliefs that were created at a very young age, and just as a matter of, like, just consequently dealing with that, in turn had a huge impact on experiences and beliefs that were related to things that happened 10, 15, 20, 30 years later. Like, I've seen that happen in people where they've, resolved something that was, an issue from, childhood, and in turn that changed their entire outlook and their entire memory related to how all of these other experiences unfolded in their life. And it's powerful. It's just a powerful, beautiful, beautiful thing. So I wanted to share that with you, and I wanted to just give you that little tidbit. I hope that it's valuable, and yeah, that was the message for today. I hope that you guys are doing well. I hope that everybody is healthy and happy. As always, take care of yourself. Self-care, 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 And until next time, this is paradigm shifting. All right, you guys have a great weekend. Bye.